Good morning, Michiana, and Get Inspired, Indiana. So we're here today for Life Inspired, and we do this every Friday morning at 9:30, almost at 10:30. And our guest today is Kirstyn Stroinski. Thank you, Kirstyn, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. So we are so delighted to have Kirstyn as our guest. As you know, the story every Friday is about life was going along, and then the ... that happens between life and ... inspired is kind of like, and then God. This happened, and then God did something, and now you're living an inspired life, right?
Right.
So you have a story. Tell us about life before the dots.
Life before the dots. So my story is not like made for TV movie kind of story. It's just very girl next door kind of story. I think everybody will be able to relate to it. But for me, when we talk about the ... I have a saying, and I use this saying a lot, and I use it a lot with my kids. I use it internally on myself, but I use it a lot with my kids. And it goes like this. Whenever they're worried or they're concerned about something, I would always say to them, you do your best, God will do the rest, and what's meant to be will be. And they really learned to understand what that meant. So their doing their best was their personal best, whatever that was for them. And I reminded them that they needed to do it with good intention, and they needed to do it with kindness. If they did those things, God would do the rest. That's the ... part for me every day.
Yep.
And then whatever happens in the end is what becomes inspired. Now, my story that I'll share today is where I really had to turn that back on myself.
Okay.
And give myself that advice and remember
Okay.
it. So, not quite 10 years ago, November 2008, like so many others, my husband lost his job after 24 years with a Fortune 500 company.
And he was with the same company
Same company.
for 24 years.
He was. And we had traveled and we were corporately, mobily upward, and we were living very, very comfortably. And like a lot of highly compensated executives, during that crash, he lost his job. And that is all he'd ever done. He was exceptional at it, but it was all he'd ever done. I, during that time, had the great fortune of being a stay-at-home mother. And then when my youngest was getting into school full-time, I went back to work as an educator and was enjoying that immensely. And life was going along beautifully. We had one in college, one getting ready to leave in just a few months for college, and then my then 10-year-old. And he abruptly lost his job. And it shouldn't have come as a surprise because so many of our peers were experiencing that same thing.
But it was a surprise.
It was a surprise. And we're thinking, what do we do? What do we do? Well,
You do
I know
your
what
best,
I know what to do.
and God does
Does the rest. And so I was able to get a second job in a field that I was qualified for. My husband spent his time looking for a job, but at the same time then taking over the role of what I used to do
Right,
that he had never done before.
right.
To this day, if you ask me, I am so proud of everything that he's ever done. But the thing that I'm most proud of is what he did in that time. He was the very best manager for our home while looking for a job. He did get a job. We were very fortunate. He got one within 6 months. Lots of his friends,
We're
our
still
friends,
looking, right.
18 months later, were still looking. He was very humble. He took a position, very, very underpaid. But it didn't matter. He had a family. And he continued to stick with that job. And 10 years later, he's in a job that he absolutely loves.
More than the one he did for 24 years.
Way more.
Right.
The compensation is exactly what we need. And God did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And exactly what he always promises to do. We did our best. And he did the rest. And what's meant to be will be.
And you have a very happy family.
Extremely abundantly blessed.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's not you're made for TV. story, but it's a story that I think everybody can relate to.
Well, and probably a lot of people need to hear it. I mean, there's things happening out there today that may not be job loss. We're not facing the same crisis that we did in 2008, but there's things that are happening in people's lives that they don't expect. And
it's a scary time. No matter what you're going through, it's very scary. But just that peace that you would get knowing, I'm going to do my best. And we don't know what it's going to be.
Right.
We just know it will be. And it's going to be exactly right. You just got to wait and be patient. So thanks for letting me share that.
All of you guys that know Kirstyn definitely have heard her say this before. You do your best. God does the rest. She says it probably about once a week to us at Inspired. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. You guys know other stories that people have things they've experienced that they do their best and God does the rest. And so if you'll message us here and share some of those with us, we can invite them to be on air on another Friday morning. So thanks for watching. Share Kirstyn's story with anybody that you know that needs to hear it. And you guys have a great weekend. Get inspired, Michiana. Bye-bye. Aw, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.